Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another K12 Sports Tech AD Think Tank on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with this week's Think Tank guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to all of our sponsors, including K12 Sports Tech. Stay with us for the next 3 minutes. These are all great companies. You're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to K12 Sports Tech for sponsoring the Think Tank segments on the podcast. K12 Sports Tech helps ADs and sport vendors connect through education and hands-on consulting. ADs are also invited to join the K12 Sports Tech AD Think Tank and help influence how companies shape their tech to serve schools. To get started or find out more, just go to k12sportstech.com. That's it, k12sportstech.com. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Do what we did. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it because it works. Coaches loved it. Parents loved it. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. It's it's snapraise.com. That's snapraise.com. We also want to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling, rosters, or results. I'm telling you, the athletic clearance and eligibility platform alone is worth the price. Go to k12sportstech.com. Tell them you heard about it on the podcast. k12sportstech.com. We want to thank our friends at Gipper. Your students are on social media, and Gipper can help you become a social media pro, whether it's a post about a big win or an entire social media newsletter sharing all the great things that your school does. They're going to have you creating world-class content in seconds. It's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com. Again, tell them you heard about it on the podcast. We want to thank Hometown Ticketing. Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions for digital ticketing, fee-free fundraising, athletic websites, and more. Whether you're an AD, a coach, or a school administrator, Hometown makes it easy for you to save time, raise more money, and bring your community together. You can learn more at hometown.com. We want to thank our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say before, probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. That's sidelineinteractive.com. We'd like to say thank you to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant AD, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program, and it was great. It's totally online, just about 20 months. And while he completed his master's, he also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. You'll find it all at ohio.edu/info/MAA. We want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the events, or to show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touch screen. That's right, touch screen video consoles. They're also a great way to share your school's unique history and brag about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Make sure you mention the podcast. We also want to thank our good friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. As an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just loved, all our coaches, the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes love the videos, and our parents love the streaming, but there's so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. We want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. You know, athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic surveys will connect you to that group so you can hear their concerns and address them. But they're also going to connect you to the 98% that supports your program. And having that data is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Check them out today. Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of the K12 Sports Tech AD Think Tank on the Educational AD Podcast. Our guests today, I'll just introduce them collectively. We've got the COO of K12 Sports Tech, Alec Brown. He's going to share a little bit about his background with you in a minute. And our AD guest today is John Woods. John is a certified master athletic administrator. He's the director of athletics at Libertyville High School. That's in Libertyville, Illinois. Alec, welcome back to the K12 Sports Tech AD Think Tank.
Thanks, Jake. Thanks for having me.
And John, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's a
Yeah.
pleasure to be here.
For our listeners, we're recording this on February 4th, so it's going to be very timely when you're listening to it. John, I want to start with you. Share with our listeners a little bit your background in athletics, a little bit about your school, so they can kind of get some context about, who they're talking to and who they're listening to.
Yeah, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. I've been either coaching, teaching, or ADing for 32 years. Started coaching in 1992, fresh out of college, and knew everything there was to know about anything. And if you ever asked me, I would have told you. And unfortunately for me and those I led, it took me about 5 years to figure out just how little I knew. I've been an athletic director for 25 years. I started in Champaign Central High School in Champaign, Illinois. I was the AD there from 2001 to 17, 18. Left Champaign in 2018 and moved up north to Libertyville High School. We are a high school of about 1,800 kids. We're in the North Suburban Conference. We're one of the smaller schools in our league. We have three schools in our league that are over 4,000 students. But it's a great league, great competition, great area, and we certainly hold our own with the folks in the North Suburban Conference. But I've been here for 7 years. Love every minute of it, and certainly honored to work alongside Alec and Abby with the AD Think Tank.
Oh, guys, thanks for sharing. And I can't tell you how good that makes me feel when I hear another athletic director, talk about those early years of, they knew it all. You learned that you didn't know it all sooner than I did. So my hats off to you on that. Okay. Alec, share again with our listeners. We might have some first timers here. A little bit about your athletic background and kind of what the K12 Sports Tech AD Think Tank actually is.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So Jake, thanks for having me. Appreciate being on again. John, thanks for doing this. We definitely appreciate it. My background is as an AD. I actually started as a teacher in Chicago, at a small new startup charter school in the city that offered no sports program. So I became an AD through starting the sports program at that school, actually walking into my principal's office and seeing if I could do it. And she said yes. And I had no idea what I was getting into. From there, built that program out and kind of realized that sports was something I wanted to work in for the rest of my life. Left the school system, ran an organization called Beyond Sports Foundation for about 5 years in the Highland Park area in Illinois. That was geared towards helping high school and college student athletes prepare for life after sports. So we did a lot of workforce development, job training, internships, things like that. Really enjoyed that and that experience. And then, met Abby, who's the founder of K12, about 2 years ago, and really just believed in what she was trying to do, and wanted to latch onto that thing. And what we're doing with our AD think tank is basically developing a consulting and resource hub that connects ADs with sports tech vendors. It helps ADs see what options are out there, see how they can improve their programs, and it helps vendors kind of better understand the tools that solve AD's problems. Um, we've built the think tank up over the last year to almost 500 members nationwide. John was one of the first, and John really gave us a lot of ideas on how to build this thing up, and really helped kind of establish the groundwork for getting it going. So we appreciate that, and just excited to hear more.
Oh yeah, as you know, I was a fan instantly when I heard about it from two aspects. You know, the opportunity for ADs to network as well as to speak directly to and to hear from, vendors. John, you got an established program there, and as Alec mentioned, you've kind of been involved with the think tank since the very beginning. How have you seen it work for you? What are some things that stick out for you about being another resource for ADs? And maybe let's take an even deeper dive. How have you used it as the athletic director at Libertyville?
A couple great questions, Jake and Alec. You did a great job articulating everything that you guys do. I tell you, I've known Abby for, I'm ashamed to say, maybe like 10 or 15 years. It goes back to my days in Champaign when I was working with another company. Through my role at Libertyville, it was a scheduling company. She was working for the company, and I used to call every day for tech help because computer savvy was not on my bingo card. But they were a great help. Abby and I remained in contact over the years. She knew that I'd reach out to her if I needed help, and she would do the same. But the AD think tank, Jake, like I think back to my early years as an AD. At 30 years old, I thought that being an AD was just about scheduling games and getting officials and scheduling buses and doing the managerial side of things. That included ordering uniforms and equipment and some of the other things I didn't know I was supposed to order, but I guess it did fall under my jurisdiction. So, not knowing like who do you call to order stuff, and when it comes to fundraising, how do you do that? Like there were so many things, as I mentioned earlier, that I just had no clue about, and to think about like where I was then. Going to conferences, going to the vendor shows, shaking hands, kissing babies, handing out bumper stickers, doing all the things to make those contacts, those personal connects, was time consuming. And it only came up once or twice a year. And so thinking about how do you bring those vendor shows to my daily routine or to throw them all into the hopper and be able to work with somebody like K12 to where I could reach out to Alec and say, hey, I need help connecting with X, Y, or Z. And to know that a vendor has been identified by ADs across Illinois or across the region or across the country, that they've been endorsed, is something that I would have placed high value on, especially early in my career. And thanks to Jake or Alec and what he and Abby have done, that's possible now for ADs. And you don't see the 25-year, 30-year AD as much now as you used to, for whatever reason. And it could be the hours, it could be the job, it could be the people, it could be all the above. But what I will say is the amount of time that I used to spend trying to find the best deal, trying to find the best vendor for whatever it is we were looking for, is a lot of time spent, and probably time that I could have been doing something more productive for the kids or for our coaches or even for our community. So for that, I'm grateful. And the opportunity for young ADs to partner with Think Tank, I think is one that I would have definitely stood in a long line. I would have been in that thing like this, just checking to see how fast the line was going. For us, Alec, you may not know this. We have connected with Brett. I don't know if you remember my call like a year and a half ago with
Yep,
Brett.
yep, yep.
Uh,
He told me.
like, and Jake, this is how it works. You speak to some folks and like, hey, we not now is it was our position at the time with Brett. And then as I'm starting to listen to coaches and I'm starting to listen to needs and I'm starting to think about different options with vendors through K12, I'm like, well, how about we call Brett? And we did. I got two coaches hooked up with him right now to do some stuff. So that's how this thing works. It is really networking, at its finest.
I talk about this with vendors and with ADs, and I guess particularly with my sponsors. And people that listen to the podcast, they know who my sponsors are. They were companies I used as an athletic director. They're great companies. There's a ton of great companies out there. But when a vendor is giving you that cold call, okay, um, even if it's a great product, and it is that most of the time they're great products. Um, if you haven't used that product, you're gonna approach that from this is a salesperson. Whereas if another AD calls you up from Illinois or Indiana or even Florida and says, "Hey, John, have you ever used this platform? It's great." All of a sudden, that platform is gold. It's still the same platform. It hasn't changed a bit. It's just who's sharing the message. And that's where I see the think tank and those connections really coming into play. Is that a fair description?
Jake, I mean, you're spot on. And I mean, Alec, going back to connecting with Brett, I'm talking to another AD at an event I was at a couple of weeks ago, and he's telling me about this thing that they did. And I'm like, wait a second, you did that with company X? And he's like, yeah. And I said, and you worked with, he said, yeah, I did. As soon as I walked out of the building, I'm calling, not because the vendor reached out, cold called, or sent me some random email that's likely going to get swiped left or right. I can't remember which way it goes, but it's gone. But when an AD endorses, you start to listen and then you start to dig a little deeper. And that same AD connected us with another. And that's how this thing works, Jake. You're spot on. We get 250 emails a day. And if we get to half of them, it's a great day. And the other half is probably getting deleted or ignored. And if it's not somebody I know or a subject line that catches my attention, today ain't their day. But if it's an AD that's endorsing a product, I'll show you a text. I would show you, but it's probably going to be blurry. I got a text message today from an AD asking, "What vendor do you use?" So through the think tank, like the network just explodes. And now you're getting endorsements from people you trust, people you know.
Right. And Alec, I'm going to turn to you from a vendor perspective because you're dealing directly with the vendors. Um, it it could this think tank could lead to the end of that cold call or that cold email because they're building the proper network, if you will, with the people they're trying to get their message to. Is that a possible development of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something we've really noticed is when we've built, trusted relationships with our think tank members. So when we reach out with a new project that introduces a new company in the space to ADs, they're going to listen, and that email always, tends to go to the top, and they pay attention to it. So yeah, so we've noticed that that's been a really positive effect of what we're trying to do, and has helped us connect vendors to some of the most forward-thinking athletic administrators in the country.
Well, you guys have just been great. Alec, you've listened to, John talk. I'm a huge fan of the platform. Is there anything else that you would like our listeners to know about the think tank before we give out everybody's contact information?
No, Jake, not so much. I mean, I really appreciate you for having us on, and John for coming on. I would just like ADs out there to know that we're always looking for more ADs to join the think tank. We would love to develop this thing even further than it's gone in year two. We have big goals for working with a lot of vendors. So in order to do that, we want to have the think tank as loud and strong as possible. So you can reach me at Alec at K12sportstech.com. It's ALEC at K12sportstech.com. And I'll get right back to you, and we'll follow up with a meeting and sign up from there. And then you can be a part of the team.
No, absolutely. And listeners, Alec is very, very good about responding to those emails. So reach out. Also, check out the website, K12sportstech.com. John, if one of our listeners wanted to reach out and find out more about the think tank or just add you to their network, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, you can find me at john.woods at d128.org. I'm also on LinkedIn under my name, John Woods. I would like to add one thing real quick, Jake. Like I mentioned earlier, the network of ADs, and there might be a first year or second year AD out there that might be reluctant to jump into the think tank. But I got to tell you, I lean on some of our newer ADs for some wonderful ideas. They've got fresh ideas when it comes to technology. They've got fresh ideas when it comes to school branding, when it comes to celebrating the kids. Like you don't have to be in this thing for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years to jump into the AD think tank. Get involved. It's a great way to network with folks and learn more about this wonderful profession.
Yeah. Boy, you just you caught me at the right time. I just did an interview this morning, so there's a little bonus networking opportunity for you, John, and for all of our listeners. Here's an athletic director in Florida. She has already gone through. She does a great job of promoting her kids to go to the college level. So
Mhm.
from a college admissions, standpoint, I don't know if you could find anybody better, but she's been doing this long enough. She's already had a couple kids that have gone through the transfer portal and NIL branding, and she was just blowing my mind with things that you don't hear about on Sports Center or other things. So I'm going to give her name. You'll just have to look it up. It's Megan Ziegelhofer, just like it sounds, Ziegelhofer. She's the athletic director at Mount Dora Christian Academy, and that's right here in Mount Dora, Florida. Megan Ziegelhofer. She is a pro at the highest level, does a great job with her school. She's on our state athletic director advisory committee. Megan Ziegelhofer, if you have questions about high school, I mean, real questions, NIL and transfer portal, things like that, you could do no better. So there's a bonus networking opportunity.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jake.
Got it written down.
Uh, Gentlemen, thanks as always for sharing. For our listeners, we do this just about every week, and we upload the Zoom recordings to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We hope you come back and join us again. We hope you'll reach out to Alec and to Abby Emerson at K12 Sports Tech and become a part of the think tank. And who knows, maybe we'll have you on sharing your experiences. So, guys, thanks a lot. And for our listeners, we'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.
Thanks.
Hey, before we go, as always, you got to visit our sponsors. Every single one of these sponsors I used as an athletic director. They're all great sponsors. You should be using them too. Let's give a shout out to K12 Sports Tech. We also want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys. Do a survey of your coaches, your kids, your parents. That's athleticsurveys.com. Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you put a Wall of Fame console in your gym lobby, whether it's a floor mount or a wall mount, it's going to be a magnet. You can have your Hall of Fame, your school record boards. You can have daily announcements on there. It's a tremendous tool. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. If you're looking for a fundraiser, stop looking. Snap Raise. We used it at our school and it was fantastic. That's snapraise.com. Hometown Ticketing. They're the leading digital ticketing provider for schools and colleges and a lot more than digital ticketing. Go to hometown.com to get started. Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Probably the best purchase I ever made as an AD was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com for more information. Huddle. As a football coach, I used it. As an AD, we were a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com. Gipper. Gipper is going to turn you into a social media pro, whether it's postings or newsletters. Go to gipper.com. Home Campus, you've heard me say before, it's a platform you're going to use every single day. Go to homecampus.com. And the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. Go to ohio.edu/info/MAA. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.